Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om. Vasudevasutam Devam Kamsachanuramardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. We are at verse 13 of chapter 6 of Bhagavad Gita. So the verse 12 was, the English translation was, there having made the mind one-pointed with the action of the mind and the senses controlled, being seated on the seat, let him practice yoga for the purification of the self. So he was basically saying that, once you select a place, quiet, pure place, then what you're supposed to do, make the mind one-pointed and senses and all the actions controlled, being seated on the seat, practice yoga for the purification of the self. The goal was given. Not the final goal is of course self-realization, but whatever is in our hand to do, that's what it was told last verse. And now we are going to verse 13. So he's coming back to how to sit straight. So in other words, Krishna Bhagavan is having no stone unturned. He's telling in all details everything. So let's see what he's saying here in verse 13. I'm going to first chant, tell the Sanskrit meaning, and go from there. Samam kaya shiro grivam dharayan chalam sthiraha sampreksha nasikagram swam dishaschana valokayan. Samam is erect, straight. Kaya shiro grivam. So there are three words, kayam, shir, and griv. Kayam is body, means trunk actually, trunk part of the body. Head, shir is sir, जो हम लोग हिंदी में बोलते हैं, head, and neck. Griv is neck. So all three things straight. Dharayan, holding. Achalam is still and sthiram is steady. There are similar words, still and steady, but we'll see why, because even though they use two words, it has a very subtle difference in it, so that we'll see. Sampreksha, gazing at. Nasika agram, tip of the nose. Maybe we'll have to analyze what Krishna Bhagavan is saying. It's a subtle subject and we cannot take literal translation, others will be in trouble. So we have to take the proper understanding. Swam in one's own. Dishaha is direction. Cha is an. Anavalokayan, not looking. Avlokan yani dekhna. Unavlokan, not to see, here and there. So it's a very simple verse, but still there are many things we can discuss with it. And, the Dilli Wale Swami, he gave some very good points also. So we'll go over it. So Krishna Bhagavan is again coming back to how to sit. So he first started and then he went for a little bit with the mind and all, told the goal. Now again, he's coming back to give more detail. So basically, he's saying that sitting in a straight vertical line. And in our Chinmaya mission, we said, don't sit like a question mark. ऐसे टेढ़ा करके, because हम लोग की habit है ना, ऐसे धीरे-धीरे झुकना शुरू कर देते हैं. And I know for some people, because of our age or some medical condition, it may not be possible. So it's not like if you cannot sit straight, you cannot meditate at all. ऐसा कुछ नहीं है. मगर it's telling you the reason, and that's why in spirituality they always say जितना जल्दी हो सके उतना start करो. Because it at later age gets harder and harder. But जो लोग शुरू से ही बैठते हैं ना सीधा, फिर वो लोग old age में भी बैठ सकते हैं. That's why you can see that. So summum is equal. क्या होना चाहिए equal? Trunk, neck, and head. It should be in a straight line. So why he said that? Because it helps if in the meditation, if you keep the body straight, because there is a pranas and the vital air flow smoothly. That's what it is. So it helps to make the mind calm and peaceful, because the pranas flow smoothly. It will help to make the mind, because that's the final goal. And then if somebody wants to go in more detail, and Kamlaji is not here, she knows a lot about it. There's Sushumna Nadi, they call it, in the center. So that has to be kept straight, because that helps to keep the mind quiet more easily. So that's the reason. So the other thing that Nikhilanandji brought in was that whoever has done Mandukya Upanishad with us talked about the Turiya state, right? So he discussed, I thought it's very important, because the whole goal is to go to that Turiya state, right? So by keeping your body straight, and then from the body, the mind becomes quiet, it helps us to go to that fourth state. So whoever has done, it's a review, and whoever has not done Mandukya, basically in Mandukya Upanishad, they talked about our experience that, hey, we have 3 states that we go every 24 hours, we all experience those 3 states. One is a waking, one is a dream, and one is a deep sleep. So everybody, whether you believe in God or not, doesn't matter. We all experience that. So, but the meditation, what they're talking about, there is a 4th state. And the Turiya word, the translation is 4th. This word was actually introduced in Mandukya Upanishad. So what is that 4th state? It is beyond these 3 stages, but the substratum is the Turiya, but we don't experience that Turiya state. We only go from one to the other, come back to the waking. See what I'm saying? So, but very interesting about those 3 states that we experience, that firstly, it says that to go from that one state to another, it's not connected, in a sense that if you're in dream, you're not awake. So and if you're in deep sleep, you're not in the other 2. So in some ways, they are compartmentalized also. But the interesting thing about those 3 states is that we remember it. We remember the state, because when we dream, when we wake up, we say, oh yeah, I was dreaming, right? So I remember that dream state in that respect. If I get a good sleep, I may not know how long I slept and all those things, but I know I got the good sleep. All of us experience that. That means we have the memory of it. So what he was talking about is that the 4th state, when you experience it, when you come back to the other waking state, you will remember it also. So that's a very significant thing he told about this. I thought that was very good. And then the second thing that happens is that the Turiya state, if you keep going back to it, like my sister is not here today. She was saying that she follows one form of meditation that I think it's the Sahaj Marg that they do. She said that they said, sit down, because that few moments also you feel that quietness, that's also very important. Even if your mind is going too fast, but a few moments. So here, the Turiya state, they're talking about that if you experience it even for short time, slowly you keep going back again and again to it, you will finally get established in it. So, it could be a slow process, but you have to keep giving that heat, like they say, and then it will get warm. So, you don't lose. Main thing about that is that once you do experience, you're not going to lose touch with it. And once you get established, then it will be there with you all the time. So that is kind of the goal. So why he brought this Turiya state is because there's one significant thing, that the person who gets established in it, he looks at the world from the Turiya state standpoint. When we said there is oneness, but what happens to an ignorant person, that his headquarter is a waking state. So he sees the world from the waking state point of view. So he may, ignorant person, or most of the people, or until we reach that state, we also fall into the same category actually, So that we go to dream state and then we come back to waking, we go to deep sleep, we come back to that, we call it our headquarter, and we see the world from the perspective of the waking state. So, but the person who gets established in the Turiya state, for him, the headquarter becomes Turiya. So that's why when we say that a person, he sees oneness in the world, this is another way of explaining what happens. So, and then coming back to this verse that, okay, when the mind becomes calm and quiet, then that's the time the understanding of nature of self happens to us. Even though we intellectually kind of understood, or we try to understand it by the scriptures, but in meditation, getting in touch with the Turiya state, the understanding become more and more experiential, kind of. And then we hear in the previous verse, he was explaining, Nikhilananji was explaining that we have to pay attention to the self. More than thinking about the self, once you understand what it is, you have to pay attention to it. And then this is the difference between a person who doesn't intellectually understand what self is. Because there is a lot of emphasis in Bhagavad Gita also about knowledge, right? Gyan and Vigyan, they call it. Gyan is, gathering the knowledge. Vigyan is experiencing it. That's the second stage. So he's saying that suppose somebody don't have the knowledge of the self, and they still go and meditate. तो ऐसा नहीं उसको बिल्कुल फायदा नहीं होगा, of course, but वो trance में जाएगा, वो Turiya state में नहीं जाएगा, because he doesn't know what it is, okay? And he was talking about that going into a trance is not meditation. The meditation that Bhagavad Gita is talking about, in other words. But there could be so many different definitions of it, but what Lord Krishna is talking about. So he's saying that if somebody goes into the trance, it will be very pleasing, nice, happy, pleasant state, but that's not the ultimate state that they're talking about. And we have discussed it before also. So he's saying so many people who don't study the scriptures and don't contemplate, and they still meditate, so they will quieten their mind, they can focus their mind, and their mind will become still, and they will experience that stillness. But when they come out from that trance or that state, they will still be equally ignorant. So that's what Chinmayananji used to also talk about. Sometimes he used to use a little harsh language also. He's saying, before meditating, you're an idiot, then you come out and you're still an idiot. So, these Swamis don't hesitate to tell you. So, just remember that a final state we have to go. That's why we have to study the scripture, try to understand. And that's why I was telling you that 6th chapter is telling you meditate on the self, but next 6 chapters in Bhagavad Gita is going to tell you who the self is. More and more we learn, more and more we will develop that real bhakti, that because किसी के लिए डिवोशन क्रिएट करने के लिए ना उसको पहचानना पड़ता है पहले, तभी होता है, राइट? यू कैन नॉट से ओ लव दिस पर्सन. It cannot happen. You have to know that person, their quality, and then you start. It comes from deeper within you. So just remember those points. So what does this verse, the stillness helps to get into the Turiya state. And the still body helps us to do the attention on the self. We've already did that. Okay. And now what he's saying, this verse, what it's saying. So keep all these points in mind. The word that they are using over here is achalam and sthiram, right? 2 words they use. So we were saying that they are very similar words, but there's subtle differences. So achalam meaning not moving from one place to another. So when we sit on the asana, in those final meditative position, you should not be moving within the asana यहाँ से वहाँ, okay? उसके लिए वो अचलम word use किया है. और दूसरा word use किया है स्थिरम. स्थिरम किया है because जो upper body है ना, उसको ऐसे आगे पीछे sideways मत उसको हिलाओ. So see the difference? One is they're talking about the base should be firm and then upper body should not swing. उसके लिए स्थिरम use किया. So what the Swami said that, hey, sthir like a rock or a mountain or some stone, just absolutely straight. And he also used another thing. He said, जैसे एक हैंगर पे कपड़े टांग के ना तुम उसको छोड़ देते हो, तो वैसे अपने बॉडी का जो स्केलेटन है उस पे तुम्हारा बॉडी टंगी हुई है. Which is giving कि भाई कैसा होना चाहिए स्थिरम, okay? And then he also mentioned a story of the Purana, which most of us know, about Valmiki. Valmiki was actually a robber, roadside robber, but then, he was given by Naradji this mantra, say mara mara mara, because he didn't know how to say, he only knew how to kill. So usko mara mara bola, to wo Ram mein badal gaya. And he also got the realization, because उसने बोला घर जाके अपनी बीवी को पूछो कि तुम ये जो मार काट करके तुम पैसे लाते हो, क्या वो उसमें भागीदार होगी तुम्हारे पाप में? एंड बीवी और बच्चों ने बोला नो, हम लोग आपके पाप में भागीदार नहीं होंगे, बिकॉज योर जॉब इज to provide for us, and that's your karma, how you do it. We are not asking you to go do this bad karma, whatever. So usko vairagya ho gaya. And then when he started meditating, it seems wo mara Ram mein parivartit ho gaya. He started saying Ram Ram. And then one ant hill was created around him. And it seems that in Sanskrit, ant hill ko Valmiki bolte hain. इसी से उनका नाम वाल्मीकि पड़ा. How did he get the name Valmiki? So he's saying that पुराणों में स्टोरी कि कैसे वो still हो गए. We may not be able to obviously go there, but at least idea, that not to move your body because you want to finally get the mind. Now, other important part, the second part of this verse is eyes के बारे में बोला है कि नासिका अग्रम. Nasika agram, literal translation means tip of the nose. But agra means beginning also. There is a double meaning in it. Beginning of the nose कहाँ से शुरू होता है? Nose इधर से शुरू होता है, right? पूरा. So beginning इधर हो गया, center of the eyebrows. That was a very significant thing that Dilliwale Swami brought it up, because otherwise they could, if you try to look at the nose through the eyes, wo headache ho jayega. Like Swamiji is going to talk about it. Chinmayananji will say that if you take a literal meaning, you will get a headache. So that's not what they're talking about. They're talking about center of the eyebrow, the same exact thing Krishna Bhagwan has mentioned in chapter 5 also, that between the eyebrows. There is the exact verse between the eyebrow. He's repeating it in a slightly different language, calling it the Nasika Agra means the beginning of the nose, that is in the eyebrows. But how do we do that? When we close our eyes, he's saying that eyes can still move. And that, I don't know too much about the science, but they in sleep, they say we have rapid eye movement when we are seeing dreams. My eyes are moving. So here, deliberately, because you are awake and you are trying to get into that state, so when we close our eyes, put your gaze in the center of your eyebrow. And I tell you, it makes a huge difference when you do that. Then your mind becomes quiet. Otherwise, you're going to go in the past and the future and all bad thoughts will come. And the other thing that personally I've had that experience is, like when I started learning yoga a long time ago, 25 years ago, with my yoga teacher. So she was teaching different poses and all that. And she said to do the tree pose. And that time I was not very good at it. So it's like, whoever does yoga know that you fold your one leg like that. And then I used to keep moving and falling. And she said, okay, if you want to learn to be steady, look at one point only, deliberately. And I was so surprised, when you do that, you can focus and you will not fall here and there. Whoever wants to try can try it. But if you don't focus deliberately at one point, anything you can take in front of you, you can do it. So it's actually scientific. I don't know all the details, but it does work. So same way he's talking about this, that focus your eyes at one point, because that will help us to focus. Okay. And then we already discussed, when the eye is steady, mind will be steady, and thoughts and eyes are connected according to thoughts, mind, and eyes are all connected to each other. And then Nikhilananji was saying that how, when we have thoughts, many thoughts come in the picture form to us. Whenever we are thinking of past, future, and all kind of pictures start flashing in front of us. So he's saying that's why you need to, when you focus on one point, it kind of stops all those looking at all different pictures in our mind stops. And the other word over here that Krishna Bhagavan has used is this last three thing. First, he is using swam, means one's own. So close your eyes, your own eyes, and look at your own nose. So it's saying not your neighbor's nose. Swam. And disha is different directions, not looking at different directions. Remember the word is there, avalokayan, not looking here and there. So just coming back to the words to see where it fits. So basically the whole summary of this is sitting on your ass and body absolutely still, mind becomes quiet, and focus the mind in the center. And then the most important thing, doing this is not meditation. This is just because he's saying that many people just stop at this. So what is meditation? Now that will come in the next verse. So this was a very simple verse and not too detailed, but still very important one. Any question or comment? Anyone wants to add anything? Okay, since Meera ji is here, would you like to read?
Let him firmly hold his body, head and neck erect and still, gazing at the tip of his nose without looking around. After describing in all detail the arrangement of the seat of meditation and how to sit there properly, Lord Krishna had thereafter explained what the meditator should do with his mind and intellect. He has also said that the mind should be made single-pointed by subduing all the activities of the sense organs and the imagination. Adding more details to the technique of meditation, it is now said that the meditator should firmly hold his body in such a fashion that his vertebral column is completely erect. The head and the neck should be erect in this posture, which is geometrically perpendicular to the horizontal seat upon which the yogi is firmly settling himself. It is pointedly indicated that he should hold his body firmly.
So this was pretty simple, everything. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. This term should not be misunderstood as holding the body in all tension. Firmly here means that the body should not be held stiff but relaxed. It must be held in such a manner that there should not be in the physical structure any tendency to swing forward and backward or sideways from right to left.
So we discussed all this. And he brought a very important point that ये नहीं कि भाई अगर form करना है तो ऐसे tight होके बैठ जाओ, because then again there you want, it's like a firm but relaxed. And some people, even यहाँ पर theories पढ़ जाएंगी ऐसे करके करेंगे, then it is not going to be able to. But when trying to look in the center, some people will वो इतना जोर से करेंगे कि वो भी, that's not going to. So everything has to be done in a relaxed but firm manner.
The seeker, having thus made himself ready for meditation, it is added here that he should gaze at the tip of the nose. This does not mean that an individual should, with half-opened eyes, deliberately turn the eyeballs towards the tip of his own nose. There are many seekers who have come to suffer physical discomforts, such as headaches, giddiness, exhaustion, tensions, and so on, because they have tried to follow this instruction too literally. Sanskara, in his commentary, has definitely given us the right direction.
It is Shankara actually. Shankaracharya ji ke liye unhone bola Shankara.
Okay, I'm sorry.
No,
Shankara, in his commentary, has definitely given us the right direction. He says that the term here means only that the meditator, while meditating, should have his attention as though turned towards the tip of his own nose. That this interpretation is not a labored and artificial intellectualism of the Acharya, but is clearly borne out by the next phrase in the second line.
So here Swamiji is giving one way to interpret that, hey, bringing your attention in the middle, but or from the all outside thing. But I like Nikhilananji's thing and all that Nasika Agra means the beginning also. That is the So Nasika Agra.
I like that explanation also, because my nose is a bit small, and when we were reading those lines, I was trying to focus here. It was getting to be very difficult.
No, and it will give you headache, like he said. So so that's why our teacher used to always say that Bhagavad Gita, Upanishads, and all that, they are in mystical language. And even the other scriptures of other religions are also in mystical language, of the language of the at that time. Examples are like that. So you cannot take it too literally. You have to understand the deeper meaning. That's why you have to have a purer mind, and that's why we depend on Shankaracharyaji's commentary and the people who have meditated for a long time, made their mind pure. When they read, they get the real import of it. Then they share with us, and you will see that once they share with us, it will sit in our mind properly too, rather than even if you experiment, you will know that you're wrong in trying to look at your nose, because it will give you a headache. So it has to be a different meaning. Yeah.
Okay. Not looking around. This instruction clearly shows what was in the mind of Krishna when he gave the instruction that the meditator should take his post on his sacred seat and direct his entire attention towards the tip of his own nose, so that his concentration may not get dissipated and his mind may not wander all around. Where the eyes go, there the mind faithfully follows. This is the law. That is why, when an individual is rather confused, we find that his gaze is not steady. Many a time we judge another individual as behaving funny or suspiciously, and in all such cases, our evidence is nothing other than the unsteadiness in the gaze of the individual concerned. Watch anyone who is indecisive and who is unsteady in his determination, and you can immediately observe that the individual's looks are definitely unsteady and confusedly wandering. That is so true.
Yeah, this he gave absolutely practical thing. Just बोलते हैं जिसके मन में चोर होता है, उसकी आंखें फिर इधर उधर उधर घूमती रहती है. ऐसे बोलते हैं. Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, any questions?
And then the next one is 14. So I'll stop here.
Yeah. Any question, comment, or?
Yeah, I want to ask you a question here. Going into a trance, is it the same as deep sleep?
No, it's different. Because deep sleep is like you actually fall asleep. So तुमको कुछ भान ही नहीं है, and we cannot, I don't know, very few people can probably go to deep sleep in the meditative posture. Even if we go to deep sleep, हम लोग ऐसे पीछे की तरफ कुछ सहारे में गिर जाएंगे, right? I don't know, that Dr. Prabhakar is here, maybe some medical person. Because
deep sleep is third stage and Turiya is fourth stage.
No, he's talking about trance, because I did mention, trance is like what he was saying, the Nikhilananji, that if you don't know the nature of self, you won't be able to put the attention of the self and you won't go into Turiya state. So people who, without contemplating about the nature of the self, without knowing all this, if they meditate, उनको फायदा होगा, उनका माइंड क्वाइट हो जाएगा, उनको अच्छा लगेगा बहुत वगैरह वगैरह, मगर वो जो फाइनल रियलाइजेशन स्टेट नहीं आएगी. और उस जो लोग विदाउट नोइंग करते हैं ना, वो ट्रांस में चले जाते हैं, ही वाज सेइंग. सो इनका कोई प्रश्न ये है कि इज ट्रांस सेम एज डीप स्लीप. सो आई वाज सेइंग नो, इट्स नॉट, बिकॉज यू आर स्टिल aware of deep sleep. Maybe we are not aware of our body and mind and all that. And here you are, in a way you are right, that we lose the consciousness of the body and mind because we are not using them, right? But I would consider it still a different state than deep sleep. लेकिन उसका फायदा डीप स्लीप वाले का हो सकता है, बिकॉज डीप स्लीप में कैसे अपना बॉडी रिजुविनेट होती है वगैरह वगैरह, तो ये ट्रांस में जाने से भी वो रिजुविनेट होगी. Because उसको एक you are giving like a little rest. So there is definitely medically you will gain things in trance. Your blood pressure might come down, your stress will come down, immune system will get better and all that. But remember, Bhagavad Gita is trying to take you to the highest state. That's why that he's saying that Nikhilananji wanted to distinguish between the Turiya and the trance.
Umaji, is the Turiya state is same as Samadhi?
Yes, same as Samadhi.
Samadhi.
Right, yeah.
So that is one.
Yeah. So the Turiya's word was like introduced in Mandukya Upanishad, and because they were talking about 3 states, waking, dream, and deep sleep, and then they said there is a 4th called Turiya. Turiya, the English translation is 4th.
How does one know that one is in the trance state? I mean, just now Anil Bhai mentioned about it. Does the individual know it?
I think that the way it's kind of a difficult question, but that's why the way he said that. Okay, I know some people personally who say, "Oh, I want to meditate, right?" But they did not study the Shastra. They didn't try to understand what the self is, and how the real, unreal, all those things that we learned so far. Then they started sitting quietly. They actually were having a different kind of problem, even worse than what यहाँ तो बोला कि trance में चले जाओ तुमको फायदा होगा. That person actually started becoming more neurotic. Like, mentally, because, and then I read somewhere in this Bhagavad Gita only, Chinmayananji's commentary is exactly which words I don't remember. He said that it is like taking all the energy and now you have stored it at one place and you don't know what to do with it. Because a lot of energy gets saved. So you have to channelize it according to him in the right direction. And if you don't, you can become neurotic. जैसे कि एक बांध का किसी एक नदी में से बांध बना दिया तुमने, and now you're not directing that water. So he's saying that it's so important that hey, the goal of meditate, what are we doing, and all that. So either you can become neurotic or you will go in a trance, but you will not go further. That's why we have to study the Shastras, and we have discussed it many times. No school, college is going to tell you about Brahman and, substrat. Now they are finally thinking about it. All the scientists and all. I mean, we have another group that we are part of, my husband and I, call Open-Minded Group. And there are different scientists and all that. And they discuss about all that. But in many universities, consciousness studies are happening now. Because all of a sudden, some of the open-minded scientists are realizing that just working on the physical universe, they cannot get their answers. There has to be something more. And the people who have studied the Vedas and all, I was just listening to one discussion. I didn't complete it yet, but there were about 10 different scientists in their different fields. And they were talking about this and how to integrate these studies in the modern science, with the physical science that they do. And this one person said it so strongly, saying that we completely discount, the Vedas, and he said, Shaivism and few things he mentioned from the India. And he's saying those guys knew it all, and they were very advanced, but nobody wants to look, not nobody, a lot of people don't want to look at that. But they said they were very logical, very systematic, and they had already reached the highest. So why not integrate that? That's what he was saying. And he was himself very qualified scientist. So now there is slowly recognizing. So what over here Nikhilananji was saying is very important to learn the nature of Brahman. Then you will direct that energy towards that. So anybody else has any comment or question about this or want to say anything? Okay, so what I'm going to do is since we have more in Kathopanishad, we did not finish the last verse, and we can go to Kathopanishad because it's a complementary anyway. And just talking about the Upanishads and the Bhagavad Gita, what I find personally is if you study Bhagavad Gita, then understanding the Upanishads becomes easier. But vice versa is more difficult. Because Krishna Bhagavan packaged it so nicely. So that's how I find. Even though in a way it's ulta, because this is supposed to be the sar of Upanishad. But imagine trying to read all the Upanishads, understand each one of them, and then come. So for us, this reverse process is very helpful. So that's why it's good that we are doing it like this.
One question, Umaji. I was thinking of the witness, when you just become a witness to everything. So is trance, I don't understand exactly the trance. So I'm trying to say, that's not the witness. You're not witnessing, are you?
Okay, so when you say about witness, only a person who has understood what the witness is, that person will be able to kind of become a witness also. When I say like this, it is something like, if I think I'm the body and I'm the mind, I will never be able to look at as a witness, because I will still be at the mind level.
Right.
Okay. So that distinction of witness and all, that is how we learn from this real, unreal, and Brahman and Jivatma and all that. We come to the conclusion of witness.
So a trance person would not be a witness either. It's just because I'm trying to think, because that is just a witness and everything is like it's blankness. I'm trying to think of the exact word.
Yeah, see, this is how it is, the way I look at it. He's talking about the ultimate state of Turiya, right?
Yes.
Even now, whatever we have studied, because we have not experienced that final thing, right? We may be anywhere. We ourselves can be in a trance state too. But at least we are trying to understand to go further, because we have some goal.
Yeah, we understand there is something higher.
Yes. And the more we study Bhagavad Gita, the more we study Upanishad, that goal will become clearer and clearer and clearer, and we have a chance of getting there. But a person who does not do the contemplation and study, फिर वो lower level पे stuck हो जाएगा. उसको आनंद मिल रहा है, तो he might think that yeah, this is so great. But and the analogy I can give is, okay, I have a goal to reach from here to New York, and then I start my journey, and रास्ते में दूसरे कोई states आ गए और बहुत अच्छा कोई garden आ गया, ये वो, मैं बहुत खुश हो गई, अब मैं वहीं रह गई, तो मैं पहुंची ही नहीं वहाँ पे. So the trance can be, you cannot define that state but the best way we can look at it is, I'm not there yet. I'm getting some benefits, but I'm not there yet. Unless...
For the person who knows the goal, then.
Right.
Only for...
Yeah.
But it is absolutely necessary to go into the trance state before you go to the Turiya state.
Yes, you can say that. That I will take. That, because trance state is nothing but, okay, I'm blocking everything.
I'm ready, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm so I think that what you mentioned makes sense. That it is one of the lower states, but what he's cautioning is वहीं नहीं रह जाओ. Right? और दूसरी बात है कि that जो meditate करना शुरू करते हैं, कभी-कभी उनको सिद्धियां प्राप्त होनी शुरू हो जाती है. Somebody seeing light, somebody seeing sound, somebody को ओम सुनाई देने लगता है, वगैरह वगैरह, right? You will see so many stories. So they are telling you in Upanishad, don't get stuck on that too. You think that you got a big prize, but don't even talk about it, don't indulge in it, move forward, So all those things kind of fit in with what we are talking about.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so we can close the Bhagavad Gita here. Sarva dharman parityajya mamekam sharanam vraja aham tva sarva papebhya moksha ishyami ma shucha. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.